President Trump and Pope Francis are meeting for the first time today, May 23rd, 2017, at the Vatican. And as the media tries to guess what they're going to say to each other behind closed doors, the real question that I have is what is hidden in the Vatican Secret Archives? I mean, come on, 53 miles of shelf space that has limited access, and you can't just, even the researchers that are allowed in, and I'll get into the details of that in just a second, those that are allowed in are just, they're not allowed to go browsing. They're only allowed to see the information that they've requested. And when you have 53 miles of shelf space, one can only imagine what they really have hidden in there. So who is actually allowed within the Vatican Secret Archives? Well, qualified scholars from institutions of higher education pursuing scientific research with an adequate knowledge of archival research, which, I mean, that's ridiculous. Who in the world do you know has frickin' experience in archival research anymore? That's silly. May apply for an entry card. Scholars need an introductory letter by either a recognized institute of research or by a suitably qualified person in the field of historical research. Applicants need to specify their personal name and information as well as the purpose of their research. Undergraduate students are not admitted. There are strict limitations to what archive users are able to view and access. For example, no materials dated after 1939 are available for public viewing, which is interesting, by the way, because that's the precise year that World War II started, which I'll mention later in the video. Now, there are 53 miles or 85 kilometers of shelf space in the library, and you must have a specific request to pursue that specific subject. There is no browsing permitted whatsoever. Instead, researchers request specific documents using bulky catalogs, which are usually handwritten in Italian or Latin, and they can only request up to 3 folders each day. If within just a few minutes they realize that the information that they're seeking is not in the requested folders, they're forced to pack up for the day, which is incredibly inconvenient and challenging for researchers and scholars because most of them are traveling incredibly long distances just to visit the Vatican Secret Archives. No photographs are permitted whatsoever. However, laptops are okay as long as they're only utilized for note-taking. So just to clarify, there's no browsing whatsoever. So you're only allowed to research what you know already exists. So anything else in there that, well, may not be known to the public is not accessible whatsoever. I mean, come on, is that shady or what? And the fact that you can only request 3 folders per day, with even if in a couple minutes you realize, like, oh, I have the wrong folder, I need the next one over. Oh, sorry, you have to leave for the day and request a new one. That's stupid. And tell me that's not indicative of hiding something, of something shady. I mean, think about that. What are they hiding in there? We're talking 53 miles of shelf space. Like, if I said 5 miles of shelf space, you'd be like, oh, wow, that's a lot. 53 miles, and you can only request what you know exists? Give me a break. Now, there's tons of speculation on what they're hiding in there. Whether it's information about tying the Vatican to Nazi Germany, because there was some shady stuff there, by the way. I mean, come on. You can't visit or view anything in the archives after 1939, the precise year that World War II starts, and there's already tons of evidence that ties various funding as well as the Vatican. You know, I'll just leave it at that. I have a lot of questions. All I know is I don't have all the answers, but many speculate that there might be some answers related to World War II within the archives. There's also a ton of speculation as to what happened to the 14 missing chapters within the Bible. Apparently, I mean, if you're not aware, the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, absolutely altered the Bible. So did King James. The King James Version is altered. And so the question becomes, well, what's original, what isn't? And, well, does Jesus, as an example, was he able to write? Because many theorize that he was able to. That he was not able to lead the masses in such a way without being educated. I mean, many people have theorized on this. It's a big controversy, obviously. But clearly there's something within the archives. Now, other people have stated that it might involve aliens, that it might involve things with, you know, corruption and pornography even. There's all kinds of speculations. I don't know what's in there. All I know is that they're hiding something. And it's beyond obvious. Why would they go to such incredible and difficult lengths for people to research this stuff and make anything that's unknown, well, unknowable? Think about that. Guys, a religion with secrets isn't a religion. It's a control mechanism. I mean, let me give you an example. I used to go to Sunday school for years, and I went to church every Sunday with my family growing up. How many Catholics have ever heard of the pineal gland or the Pinecone statue within the Vatican? I was never taught of this in Sunday school or ever heard about it in church, not once ever. Neither does anyone else I know that's Catholic. Yet the pineal gland, which is the shape of a pine cone, is utilized through ancient cultures around the world dating back thousands of years. Whether it's the Egyptians with the Eye of Horus, or even the Sumerians, or even Buddha statues containing the pine cone. And this goes back to even other places as well, as you can see here. I mean, besides the fact that the Vatican has an 11-foot solid bronze statue that is 2,000 years old, which is pretty unexplainable. They say it used to be a fountain, and it's really mysterious. Yet the Pope, and many popes, have carried around a staff that has a pine cone on it. I mean, when you have the Egyptians making a big deal about this, as well as the Sumerians, and by the way, the Sumerians are allegedly the birthplace of civilization. I mean, most of mathematics dates back to the Sumerians, our modern calendar, as well as the first documented language ever written dates back to the Sumerians as well. And somehow the Sumerians knew, thousands of years before the first telescope, about detailed information about the planets orbiting our sun, such as that the Jupiter was bigger than Saturn and Mars smaller than Earth, and so on and so on. They somehow had this information. And the Sumerians just so happened to make a very big deal of the pineal gland. You know, that reminds me, why did the Vatican establish a telescope? That's right, the Vatican has their own telescope. It's located on the other side of the world in Arizona on Mount Graham. You can look into this. It's called the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope. And although I've tried extensively to figure out what made them want to build this in the first place, I can never get a straight answer. To be honest, it's kind of mysterious. I would like to hear firsthand from the Pope why they have this freaking telescope. Now, as you see this picture here of the Pope, you see the obelisk in the background? This is, of course, located at the Vatican. And as you're aware, obelisks, you can find them in ancient Egypt. And it just so happens, I mean, look at the inscription here. The Egyptians etched in stone the seeing eye, the Eye of Horus, the same thing that's based off the pineal gland and the pinecone statue. And we also see obelisks, of course, in Washington, D.C., as well as in New York, Paris, London. And don't forget of the symbolism here. I mean, look at the as above, so below symbolism when it comes to the Washington Monument water feature, or even the pyramid as well as the eye on the back of the $1 bill. I mean, is this all just a coincidence? I mean, when you have numerous cultures dating back thousands of years discussing in depth about the intuitive abilities of people that stem from the pineal gland, which is the shape of a pine cone, it's time for people to start asking new questions and start challenging the Vatican to open up the Vatican archives. It is literally a crime against humanity to have a religious faith withholding information and documentation dating back thousands of years that, of course, is applicable to ancient human civilization. And these connections that you've seen in this presentation clearly show, well, that the powers that be clearly know something that the masses do not. Anyways, guys, I'm going to close up there. Like and subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. I know this is a touchy subject because it's religion, but ultimately only the truth will set us free. I'm Jimmy, this is Bright Insight. Take care, everybody.